2011, 23 Navy SEALs flew into Pakistan without permission from anyone outside the Oval Office. In 2019, Delta Force operators cornered the most wanted man on Earth in a compound in northern Syria. In 2026, operatives whose names will never appear in any public document reportedly pulled a foreign head of state out of his own capital city. 3 operations, 3 different tiers of U.S. Special Operations. Most people watching the news coverage had no idea they were looking at completely different kinds of units built for completely different missions. What do the tiers actually mean? Who belongs to each one? And why does the distinction matter more than almost anything else in understanding how America fights? By the end of this, you will know exactly how the system works and why the tier you belong to determines everything from your funding to who personally approves your mission. If this is the first time you are hearing that the tier system has nothing to do with who is toughest and everything to do with who gives the orders, subscribe now. Daily Soldier breaks this down the way it actually works. What the tier system actually is. The tier system is not an official Pentagon ranking of who is most elite. You will not find the words Tier 1 or Tier 2 in any published Department of Defense directive. The term originated inside the Special Operations community as informal shorthand, a way of describing command relationships and funding priority without using classified language. Video games adopted it around 2010 and turned it into a prestige ranking. That is not what it is. What the tier system actually describes is organizational structure. Who commands you? Who funds you? Who approves your missions? At what level of government those decisions are made? At the foundation sits U.S. Special Operations Command SOCOM, established in 1987 after the failures of Operation Eagle Claw and the Grenada invasion exposed critical gaps in inter-service coordination. SOCOM oversees more than 70,000 personnel from the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps. It has its own budget, its own aircraft, its own boat, and a command structure that in many ways resembles a fifth branch of the military. Beneath SOCOM sits Joint Special Operations Command JSOC, the classified sub-command handling the most sensitive missions. The relationship between SOCOM and JSOC is the structural foundation of the entire tier system and the only way to understand why a Delta Force operator and a Green Beret are both special operations forces but exist in completely different worlds. Tier 3, the foundation nobody talks about. Tier 3 is where this pyramid begins. Calling it a foundation rather than a bottom rung is not a semantic choice, it is the accurate one. Tier 3 encompasses conventional forces with specialized capabilities. The 82nd Airborne Division, the 101st Airborne Division, Marine Expeditionary Units, Marine Reconnaissance. These are not special operations forces in the SOCOM definition. They are conventional units that train at higher intensity and possess capabilities airborne insertion, fast rope infiltration, combat swimming that standard units do not. The soldier or Marine in a Tier 3 unit is combat hardened and capable of operations most military forces on Earth could not execute. Calling them a tier below Tier 2 is a statement about command relationship and mission set, not quality as warriors. What Tier 3 provides is mass, volume, the ability to seize and hold terrain at scale. In any major operation, Tier 3 forces establish outer cordons, secure perimeters, hold ground after Tier 1 and 2 units have finished their objectives, and sustain the operation over time. Without them, the Tier 1 units that get all the press have nowhere to land and no perimeter protecting their extract. The personnel who reach Tier 2 and Tier 1 almost always start here. The Ranger who eventually tries for Delta spent his first years in a conventional unit. The SEAL selected for DEVGRU came up through a Tier 3 pipeline before he ever pinned on a Trident. Tier 3 is where elite careers begin and where the institution identifies who might eventually earn their way into something far more selective. Tier 2, the professionals. Tier 2 is where the term special operations officially begins and where most people's mental picture of it lives. Tier 2 encompasses U.S. Special Operations Forces under SOCOM but outside JSOC's direct command. The Army Special Forces groups the Green Berets, the 75th Ranger Regiment, the Standard Navy SEAL Teams, Marine Raiders MARSOC, the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, the Night Stalkers, Air Force Special Tactics Squadrons operating outside the 24th. The Green Berets are built around unconventional warfare and foreign internal defense. 12-man Operational Detachment Alpha Teams ODAs has deployed into foreign countries, embed with local forces, learn the language, learn the culture, and build fighting capability from the ground up. At any given time, Green Beret teams are operating in more than 70 countries simultaneously. Their primary weapon is often not a rifle. It is rapport, cultural fluency, the ability to turn a local force into a capable one. The Rangers are built differently. The 75th Ranger Regiment is the Army's premier large-scale direct action force. Forcible entry, seizing airfields deep in enemy territory. High-intensity raids executed with speed, surprise, and overwhelming violence of action. Ranger Assessment and Selection RASP is 8 weeks of physical and psychological attrition designed to find the soldier who performs at maximum intensity under maximum stress for sustained periods. The Night Stalkers are in a category of their own. They do not raid. They put everyone else on target and bring them home. Modified MH-60M Blackhawk, MH-47G Chinooks with in-flight refueling and terrain-following radar, MH-6 Little Birds carrying operators on external benches, stealth Blackhawks, the kind that flew into Abbottabad in 2011 without triggering Pakistani air defenses. If a mission in the last 4 decades required elite aviators, the Night Stalkers were almost certainly flying it. Before we go further, if this is hitting differently than you expected, hit the like button right now. 2 seconds, and it helps this channel reach more people who want the real breakdown. Back to the story. Tier 1, the Special Mission Units. Tier 1 units are formally designated Special Mission Units, SMUs. They fall directly under JSOC. Their missions are approved at the national level. Their budgets, personnel numbers, and operational histories are classified. 5 are confirmed or strongly evidenced in the public record. Delta Force, officially the first Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta, established in 1977 by Colonel Charles Beckwith, modeled on the British SAS, based at Fort Liberty. Primary mission, counter-terrorism, direct action against high-value targets, hostage rescue. Selection runs twice a year in West Virginia. Candidates already experienced operators, typically Rangers or Green Berets, are given navigation coordinates and told to move with no feedback, no encouragement, no information about performance. The final evolution is the long walk, a 40-mile solo ruck march with a strict time limit and a weight that increases at each checkpoint. Of a typical class of 120 already elite candidates, roughly 12 to 14 complete selection. A 6-month operator training course follows. Delta's confirmed operations include the 2019 raid that killed Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. DEVGRU Naval Special Warfare Development Group, publicly known as SEAL Team 6. Based at Dam Neck, Virginia, Selection Green Team runs once a year for 6 months, drawing exclusively from existing SEAL teams. Approximately 50% of candidates do not complete it. DEVGRU's most public operation was Abbottabad in 2011, Red Squadron on the assault, Night Stalkers flying the modified stealth Blackhawk, and a chain of command running directly to the president watching in the Situation Room. The intelligence support activity is a Task Force Orange. It does not assault compound, it finds them. Human intelligence, signals intelligence, advanced reconnaissance, getting operatives on the ground before Delta or DEVGRU boards an aircraft, confirming the target, laying the intelligence foundation that makes the assault possible. The 24th Special Tactics Squadron Task Force, quite the Air Force's Tier 1 contribution. Combat controllers who manage airspace, call in close air support, and coordinate air assets on the most sensitive operations on Earth. They appear in 0 public accounts of the missions they made possible. The Regimental Reconnaissance Company, the RRC, within the 75th Ranger Regiment. A unique situation, a Tier 1 element inside a Tier 2 regiment. 6-person teams that infiltrate ahead of an assault by parachute, water, or overland to conduct special reconnaissance and confirm target details before the main force arrives. The comparison that changes everything. Tier 2 and Tier 1 share the same world. They train together, operate on the same objectives, and share more skills than most people realize. The differences are not just organizational, they go down to the daily reality of how each tier exists. Funding first. Delta Force is believed to carry a per-individual budget that dwarfs any Tier 2 unit. A rough comparison places Delta's total budget in the same range as the 82nd Airborne Division, roughly 20,000 soldiers, while Delta fields approximately 1,200 personnel. That difference means each operator has access to equipment, training, and technology Tier 2 units simply do not receive. Selection next. Delta's attrition from first application to operational status sits at approximately 90%. DEVGRU's Green Team eliminates approximately 50% of candidates who are already qualified SEALs. Both recruit from people who have already proven themselves in demanding environments and then eliminate 9 out of 10 of those proven people. But the single most important difference is not funding or selection intensity. It is the chain of command. Tier 1 missions are approved by the Secretary of Defense or the President. When Delta is on a target, someone in the White House Situation Room knows about it. That is not true of the vast majority of Tier 2 operations. The political consequences of failure or exposure at Tier 1 reach all the way to the top of the government, and the authorization chain reflects that reality. What mainstream coverage never explains. Popular culture visualizes the tier system as a pyramid, with Tier 1 at the top, meaning the best, and Tier 3 at the bottom, meaning least capable. That is not how the architects of the system think about it. Tier 1 receives the most funding per individual. In the original model, that places it at the narrow bottom of an inverted pyramid, more resources concentrated in a smaller population. The public visualization is backwards. More importantly, the tiers are not in competition. On any JSOC raid, the Night Stalkers are flying. The Rangers are on the outer cordon. ISA operators may have been on the ground for days before the assault. The 24th STS combat controllers are managing airspace overhead. What looks like a Delta Force operation is almost always a joint Tier 1 and Tier 2 effort with a conventional force perimeter around it. Abbottabad is the clearest public example. DEVGRU conducted the assault. The Night Stalkers flew the stealth Blackhawks. CIA Special Activities Division officers prepared the intelligence. Rangers were staged as a quick reaction force. The President watched in real time. It is not a Tier 1 operation. That is the entire tier system functioning as one organism, each component doing exactly the thing it was built to do. The men and women in Tier 2 and Tier 3 who hold the perimeter, fly the birds, and never appear in the public account are not supporting characters. They are the architecture that lets the headline units operate at all. Answering the question, why do the tiers matter? Because not every mission can be run by the same kind of unit. Some missions require mass seizing terrain, holding it, sustaining the operation over weeks. Some require specialization, building a partner force in a language the team speaks, in a culture the team understands. And some require a precision and secrecy so extreme that the President personally approves them before anyone boards an aircraft. The tier system matches the right unit to the right mission and ensures that funding, training, and command authority correspond to the sensitivity of what each level is being asked to do. It is not a competition, it is an architecture. And what holds that architecture together is not the headline units. It is every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine at every tier doing their specific job at the moment the mission requires it. Close, in 2011, a DEVGRU operator stepped off a Night Stalker helicopter into a compound in Abbottabad. He did not know, in that moment, how many years of Tier 2 service in the SEAL teams had led to that night, how many deployments, how many selections survived, how many teammates made it, and how many did not. One thing, his team had a job, and they had been built at every tier by every unit that contributed to that mission to do it. That is the story the tier labels never tell. The operator at the door carries inside him every training evolution and every lesson from every tier he passed through to get there. The soldier on the outer cordon in the dark, who nobody will ever name in a press release, is holding the perimeter that makes the whole operation possible. The tiers are a structure. What fills that structure is the commitment of people who chose to serve, chose to compete, and chose to keep going when the pipeline was designed to stop them. That is not a Tier 1 story or a Tier 2 story. It is an American story. If Daily Soldier is giving you the real breakdown behind the headlines, subscribe. Every unit, every program, every decision that shapes what service actually looks like gets this treatment here. And from everything you just learned, which tier do you think demands the longest sustained sacrifice from the people inside it?